I was just looking for your approval, Chewie. You know I put you on a pedestal.
I will always approve.
So Winston Peters, you know what? I don't really care about the story, but the one part of the story that it does tie into is the language and also the behaviour of our ministers. Remember, basically, if you behave, and the handbook does talk about behavioural actions. If you behave badly, you're in breach. So bad behaviour is in breach, and I guess swearing at someone would be bad behaviour. So is this a breach of the manual? That doesn't get caught up. But they've just talked a little bit about, so this is the other thing. They've talked a bit about foreign affairs stuff for the first 3 minutes, but the heading is Peters calls Te Pāti Māori MP a dickhead. So even that, I'm just like, I guess the clickbait that we're talking about. Let's have a look.
And just finally, Minister Peters, I want to return for a moment to political profanities. Now, you yourself were caught on camera on a hot mic today saying an expletive in Parliament.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Not you, dickhead.
What was that all about?
It's not an expletive, by the way. It is not an expletive.
Okay, well, if you don't want to call it an expletive, you could definitely say that calling somebody a dickhead is calling them names. I mean, it's schoolyard behaviour, isn't it? And don't you think that Kiwis should expect their politicians in the House to uphold a higher level?
Well, if you go to the schoolyard, you know the old saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
Jesus.
Well, it sounds a little bit like Tākuta Ferris got under your skin and he threw
Which is actually bullshit, by the way, but we can get into that later on.
you off your game and so you were muttering under your breath and calling him names. Is that what happened?
He didn't throw me off my game. I just kind of thought that the appropriate response needed to be had to what he was doing.
It wasn't so long ago, just
Yes,
a few
and
weeks
also
back, when you
respect for
were
the media.
very unhappy about Brooke Van Velden using the C word in the House. There was a protester who was calling you names while you were out and about at a press conference, and now it just seems like a change in standards, Minister Peters, when you use a word like that yourself.
No, it's not a change in standards. It's not a word like that. One is a profanity, one is a curse word, one is anti-women in particular, and mine is just a statement, and it's not a profanity, it's not a swear word.
Mine's just a statement of fact.
I challenge you on the thesaurus, I challenge you on the dictionary, and you can't give me any evidence, but you carry on with the same line of questioning.
Okay, well, we will leave it there, Minister Peters.
Do you know what it is? I can tell you what it is, why I thought differently about that. This is edited. This is edited. It's only a 1.5 minutes. I watched the full conversation, and the full conversation is much more stammery and stuttery. But, look, I know I'm almost being a hypocrite by saying, why are we focusing on that while we're focusing on it? But one of the things we do is we do commentate on the commentators. We do focus on what the media is talking about. And in this example, the media is talking about dickhead, and they're not talking about regulatory standards bill, which we just spent 25 minutes on, Chewie. So fair play.
Yeah.
I mean,
we only talked about the RSB for 25 minutes with Duncan there, just so we could justify talking about Winston Peters calling someone a dickhead for a little bit. It's all about give and take. Look, I have seen various interviews with Winston from various people. You've spoken to him before, haven't you, Pat?
Several times, yeah.
Yeah. He's a challenging one to talk to, isn't he?
I used to say he was fun to talk to. I don't say that anymore because I think and I don't want to say too dangerous or more dangerous, but his words carry more weight, it feels like today, than they once did. But you can see at the end of it, he was laughing. You know what he is? He's the political version of what David Seymour wants to be, where he can actually be.
Yeah, I can very much see that.
He thinks he's being lighthearted, but he's got more kind of gravitas to his words, whereas David Seymour comes across as the kid at school nobody likes, trying to be lighthearted. But I think Winston plays the political game. I don't think he'll even think about that interview when he goes away tonight, because it's one of a million and he doesn't care.
I mean, I've seen him do interviews with like dedicated political reporters. Like I remember him and Tova O'Brien going at each other hammer and tongs on an election night run around once, and it's just, you have to go into combat with him almost. And I don't think Sam has had a lot of that. You know, she's done interviews, she's done long form pieces, she's done a lot. It's not that she's inexperienced. Absolutely not. But I feel like if you're going to come at Winston with something like that, you have to come a bit more forceful and actually try and pin him down into the corner, which didn't happen.
We're not going to play this, but look, I'll show you.
Hot mic today saying an
So
expletive
the actual
in
conversation
Parliament.
was 3:47,
What
and
was
they
that all
played
about?
90 seconds of it.
It's
So
not an
that's why I've got maybe a different view from what some people had over there. I think in this she was much more yeah, and I do think. I'm not talking Sam Hayes down, but you have to have a bit of mongrel about you to play the mongrel game. And I don't think she's got the mongrel about her. That's not a criticism. That's just some do, some don't.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
if you want to get down on the dirt, you gotta be prepared to have a few fleas. And look, we've got heaps of fleas. Look on Twitter; they'll tell you how much fleas we've got and how unwashed we are. Anyway,
I would say with something like that, if you're going to come out with it, just run straight at him. Like, why do you think it's appropriate to call someone a fellow parliamentarian a dickhead in the House? Is this appropriate for a leader?
it's
You know?
actually
and then see where it goes from there.
it's actually surprisingly easy. Ask a factual question. If they don't answer it, ask it again. Ask a factual question. If they won't answer it, ask it again. Done again and again and again. All right. There's a couple of super chats in there. Are we going to get to those? Here we go. But guys, Dick is short for Richard. Kai Matara. Winston, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Me, gnats and act can break my back, but they will never stop me. Nice. And look, not to be all tree huggerish like the soy boys that we are, but you don't typically have counselling in your adult life over having a broken arm when you were 7. But there are actually lots of words that can get put into people when they're kids that actually causes a lot more long-term harm than broken bones. So I don't, that saying is nonsense. Sticks and stones and break, but words will never hurt me.
Certainly, a couple of times that I was punched in high school, that doesn't bother me these days, but certainly words will stick with you for a long time. And I think it's rich for Winston to be talking about broken bones when he's as advanced in years as he is, and I assume that his bones have the consistency of bird bones. So yeah, maybe words shouted loud enough could hurt him.